and welcome to Wine and Words Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope that you're relaxing with your beverage of choice today. This afternoon, we are going to be celebrating the moon. This evening, it's going to be a full moon. So what I decided to do for our Wine and Words Wednesday today was to see how many poems revolved around the moon. And there are several. So I just selected a few of my favorites to share with you today. The first one is called The Moon by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson lived from 1850 to 1894, and this poem is called The Moon, in honor of tonight's full moon. The moon has a face like the clock in the hall. She shines on thieves on the garden wall, on streets and fields and harbor quays, and birdies asleep in the forks of the trees. The qualling cat and the squeaking mouse, the howling dog by the door of the house, the bat that lies in bed at noon, all love to be out by the light of the moon. But all of the things that belong to the day cuddle to sleep to be out of her way. And flowers and children close their eyes till up in the morning the sun shall arise. That was The Moon by Robert Louis Stevenson. Our next moon poem is called The Crescent Moon, and The Crescent Moon is by Amy Lowell, who lived from 1874 to 1925. Slipping softly through the sky, little horned happy moon, can you hear me up so high? Will you come down soon? On my nursery windowsill, will you stay your steady flight, and then float away with me through the summer night? Brushing over tops of trees, playing hide and seek with stars, peeping up through shiny clouds at Jupiter or Mars. I shall fill my lap with roses gathered in the Milky Way, all to carry home to mother. Oh, what will she say? Little rocking, sailing moon, do you hear me shout, ahoy? Just a little nearer, moon, to please a little boy. That was The Crescent Moon by Amy Lowell. Today we're sharing moon poems in honor of tonight's full moon. The next one is called A Solar Eclipse by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. This poem was written during Ella Wheeler Wilcox's life, who lived from 1850 to 1919. In that great journey of the stars through space, about the mighty all-directing sun, the pallid, faithful moon has been the one, companion of the earth, her tender face, pale with the swift, keen purpose of that race, which at time's natal hour was first begun, shines ever on her lover as they run, and lights its orbit with her silvery smile. Sometimes such passionate love doth in her rise, down from her beaten path she softly slips, and with her mantle veils the sun's bold eyes, then in the gloaming finds her lover's lips. While far and near the men our world call wise, see only that the sun is in eclipse. Our next moon poem this afternoon for tonight's full moon is called Will You Come by Edward Thomas. Edward Thomas lived from 1878 to 1917. So a lot of the poets that I'm sharing, especially right now, especially earlier on in today's Wine and Words Wednesday, lived right around the same time period. Will you come, will you come, will you ride so late at my side? Oh, will you come, will you come, will you come, if the night has a moon full and bright? Oh, will you come, would you come, would you come, if the night gave light, not the moon? Beautiful, would you come, would you have come, would you have come? Without scorning, had it been still morning, beloved, would you have come? If you come, haste and come. Owls have cried, it grows dark, to ride. Beautiful, beautiful, come. Our next poem is by Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson also wrote a moon poem. And we're going to share today The Moon Was But a Chin of Gold. The moon was but a chin of gold a night or two ago, and now she turns her perfect face upon the world below. Her forehead is of amplest blonde, her cheek a beryl hewn, her eye unto the summer dew, the likest I have known. Her lips of amber never part, but what must be the smile upon her friend she could confer, were such her silver will. And what's interesting about Emily Dickinson's poetry, and I shared this at some of our pop-up poetry events last year when we were doing some pop-up poetry out in the community, is that the meter in which Emily Dickinson wrote many of her poems in was also the same meter that was the Gilligan's Island theme. So if you remember that, you can actually sing some of Emily Dickinson's poems to the same tune as Gilligan's Island. The moon was but a chin of gold a night or two ago, and now she turns her perfect face upon the world below. So you can do that to a lot of Emily Dickinson's poems, which makes them kind of interesting that way. Okay. So that is let's see. We have a couple more. There they are. The next one is The First Men on the Moon by J. Patrick Lewis. This goes back to July 20th, 1969, about the moon landing. The Eagle has landed, said Apollo 2 Commander Neil A. Armstrong. A magnificent distillation, said Air Force Colonial Edward E. Buzz Aldrin, Jr. That afternoon in mid-July, two pilgrims watched from distant space, the moon ballooning in the sky. They rose to meet it face to face. Their spidery spaceship, Eagle, dropped down gently on the lunar sand, and when the module's engines stopped, rapt silence fell across the land. The first man down the ladder, Neil, spoke words that we remember now. One small step, it made us feel as if we were there too somehow. When Neil planted the flag and Buzz collected lunar rocks and dust, they hopped like kangaroos because of gravity or wanderlust. 250,000 miles away, one small blue planet watched in awe, and no one who was there that day will soon forget the sight they saw. That was called First Men on the Moon by J. Patrick Lewis. Our next poem is called Moon by Kathleen Jamie. Last night, when the moon slipped into my attic room as an oblong of light, I sensed she'd come to commiserate. It was August. She traveled with a small valise of darkness and the first few stars returning to their northern sky, and my room, it seemed, had missed her. She pretended an interest in the bookcase, while other objects stirred, as in a rock pool, with unexpected life. Strings of beads in their garden bowl gleamed, the paper-crowded desk. The books, too, appeared inclined to open and confess. Being sure the moon harbored some intention, I waited, watched for an age her cool gaze shift, first toward a flower sketch pinned on the far wall, then glide down to recline along the pine wood floor, before I'd had enough. Moon, I said, we're both scarred now. Are they quite beyond you, the simple words of love? Say them. You are not my mother. With my mother, I waited unto death. This next one I find especially beautiful. This is called Moon from the Porch by Annie Finch. This is Moon from the Porch. Moon has dusks for walls, October's days for a floor, crickets for rooms, windy halls. Only one night is her door. When I was 13, she found me, spiraled into my blood like a hive. I stood on a porch where she wound me, for the first time tight and alive, till my body flooded to find her, to know I would not be alone, as I moved through the tides that didn't bind her, into womanhood like a flung stone. With each curve that waxed into fullness, I grew to her ready and wild. I filled myself up like her priestess and emptied herself like her child. Flooding, ready and certain, I hid her, full fallow or frail, beneath each long summer's rich curtain. It covered her face, the thin grail that delivers me now. Now I am with her. All cast shadows come home. I stand in these shadows to kiss her. I spin in her cool, calming storm. Now as I move through my own beauty, and my shadow grows deeper than blood, O triple, O goddess, sustain me with your light, simple opening hood. That was Moon from the Porch by Annie Finch. And we're going to close with a small, simple, but beautiful poem called Moon. Simple title for a simple poem by Amy E. Skolansky. Moon. Marvelous opaque orb, nightlight for the world. I hope that you've enjoyed these moon poems with me this afternoon, and I hope that you enjoy tonight's full moon. Thank you so much for joining me for this afternoon's Wine and Words Wednesday. See you next week. Bye.